Thank you, Erica. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eriko from Regulatory Support Office. I work with Resija Nambia to support clinicaltrial.gov reporting. So we want to continue on Q&A series on CT.gov, but before that, I want to give you some important updates regarding civil monetary penalties for CT.gov reporting non-compliance we received from FDA last month. So many of you are already aware that there are financial penalties for CT.gov non-compliance. So non-compliance includes late registration, late results reporting, not reporting results at all, or not addressing the stipulation within the specific time frame. So this fine schedule was initially introduced by FDA Amendment Act in 2007. And at that time, penalty was $10,000 per day, but this penalty has increased to $12,462 per day per trial over the course of years with inflation. And in 2020, this penalty finally began to be enforced after 10 plus years of grace period. And in 2020, FDA released the guidance documents, so basically describing the process of collecting fines from investigator, which I summarize here on the right for your reference. So since last year, investigators start receiving notice of non-compliance letter from FDA, as this stat article features about. So I also want to highlight that once you receive the notice, your name and your record will be made public as an offender in the CT.gov public website. So it is somewhat similar to warning letters from FDA. So once you receive the notice of non-compliance, you are given 30 days to take necessary action to address violation, and failure to comply with this requirement will result in civil money penalties. And then again, so this is pretty drastic fines, pretty good reason why we want to stay in compliance. And please note that institution will not back you up on this. So PI will be personally responsible for these fines at UT Southwestern. So when you or your PI receives a letter like this one on the left, please don't ignore them and reach out to our office ASAP. We'll help to get resolved. So here are other consequences for late registration and results reporting for your reference. I just wanted to include that. So now with update. So Regulatory Counsel in Office of Clinical Policy at FDA came to give talk during last month's CT.gov task force meeting. So he gave insight of how FDA identified potential CT.gov non-compliance. He also shares FDA's compliance activities metrics and some suggestion and observation for CT.gov administrators like us. So here I just summarize key points from his presentation. So, most CT.gov non-compliance are identified by the FDA during their bioresearch monitoring program inspections. So if your trial is selected for auditing, inspector will be checking CT.gov compliance at the time as well. So FDA also initiate their investigation when they receive complaints. So those are mostly internal complaints. FDA also conducts routine surveillance as well to identify CT.gov non-complier. And their compliance metrics. So FDA so far sent over 60 pre-notice letters and 4 notice of compliance, non-compliance letters. And so far, everyone who received notice letters made necessary action to address violation within the 30 days. So no civil money penalties were collected to date. So that's a good news. And also he stressed how important it is to comply with CT.gov reporting requirements and how important to know who the responsible party for the trial. And don't wait until last minute to address stipulation known as a major comment. So if you receive, a stipulation from CT.gov reviewer at NIH, so remember you have 25 calendar days to address them. Again, some of the stipulation requires some statistical knowledge, and it can get really complicated. Especially when you have multiple outcomes. And lastly, so if your trial requires results, and whatever reason you can't submit results within the required time frame, you can request for extension. But he said, please don't wait until the last minute to submit a certification of delay or extension request to NIH. So, so these are a lot of updates information, but I wanted to share them to you all. So this concludes my update. So now I'm going to pass over to Rasija.
Thank you, Eriko. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rasija Nambiar, and I'll now continue with the Q&A series that we started with in the last Research Matters. So today's topic is the most frequently asked questions about ct.gov record updates. So the first question is, who should update the ct.gov registration information and by when? So the regulation requires responsible party to review the ct.gov record for an active study, make necessary changes, and update the verification date at least once every 12 months, and submit the updates to ct.gov regardless of the study types. Please note that failure to do so will result in the record being identified as a problem record in the monthly non-compliance report that may be shared with the UT Southwestern leadership. Next, coming to what information in the ct.gov record should be updated and by when. When the following protocol changes are made, regulation requires those changes to be reflected in the ct.gov record within a specific time frame as shown here. So the FDA inspector will issue a pre-notice letter during the audit when they learn that these information are not updated by the required timelines. Then the other question that we have here is, can I update outcome measures after study has already started? So this scenario usually occurs when some outcome measures have been removed from the protocol via a modification or an amendment that has been approved by the IRB. For that, changing outcome measures after study starts is considered an outcome switching, or known as publication bias. Task Force recommends keeping the original outcome measures as is within the record and add an explanation in the outcome measure description section that this outcome will not be collected or analyzed. For example, stating something like this outcome will not be collected as tests no longer available, something like that. So in this way, we can avoid the appearance of outcome switching. We received several inquiries from the study teams regarding their internal audit team having some findings about a mismatch between the ct.gov record and the modified protocol. So by having an explanation within the measure description field in the record, you should be able to direct them to this section that explains the changes within the ct.gov record. And the main reason for this recommendation is that today journal editors check publication bias or reporting bias using compare features in ct.gov public website during their manuscript review. With just one click in the public ct.gov website, anyone can see the changes made to the ct.gov record, as you can see here in the screenshot. Journal editors check to see the original outcomes that are reported at the time of the ct.gov registration are indeed reported accurately in the manuscript. If they find any discrepancy between original outcome in the ct.gov record and reported outcomes in manuscript, journal editors will seek explanation for that, and it may result in manuscript rejection as well. This is the last question for today's discussion, but one of the most frequently asked ones by the study teams, that I registered a study in ct.gov, but can I delete it now? So the answer is no. Once a study earns the NCT number, it cannot be deleted unless there is a duplicate record. And this concludes my talk. Thank you all for listening. I'll now pass it again to Eriko to go over the metrics. Eriko, go.
Sorry. Thanks, Sarasija. So now with ct.gov metrics. So this metric is for FDA regulated clinical trial. So in April, we were able to keep 100% compliance. So once again, this is public information, and UT Southwestern leaderships are reviewing this non-compliance trial tracker website every month. So please remember this compliance rate proportion, which is publicly available, reflects academic institutions' compliance to the federal regulation, and each non-compliance could hurt the institution's reputation as a whole. And so this shows overall real-time compliance for all UT Southwestern records. Again, blue indicate total number of records registered by UT Southwestern investigator. Green indicates record without any issues or record that are under ct.gov review. And orange and red one are the non-compliance ones. So those are bad ones. So we are doing pretty good overall. So thank you again for all your hard work. And this is sponsor investigator support metrics for April for your reference. So I'm not going to go into detail, but in addition to the figures shown here, currently we also have 3 pre-submission, so QSub in preparation. We also have worked on 2 safety reports to FDA last month. So once again, Regulatory Support Office provides ct.gov support and provide IND, IDE, and expanded access application support, so which also include the Q submission preparation and safety report submission to the FDA for UT Southwestern sponsor investigator. So if you want to learn more about sponsor investigator support program, please visit our renewed website. And I will end the talk with our usual slide. So please contact us for any ct.gov related questions or concerns. And selected resource for ct.gov. And here's the contact for sponsor investigator IND ID expanded access related questions. And selected resource. So this concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. I will turn over to Stephanie. Thank you.